Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey, Spence, let's trip out.
I'm afraid not every human is as smurfy as they should be, Sassy.
Listen to them. Children of the night. What music they make.
Yeah, certainly. Here we are.
This pizza pie won't pass. Too many calories. Oh, the rest is okay. Natural life! Get off me! Get off me!
I don't know the meaning of the word chip.
Documented Geek Day.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. Tonight we are here with Rory Colarossi, director, writer extraordinaire. Welcome to the show.
How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Great to have you.
I'm gonna try not to embarrass myself. So
No, we'll take care of that for you.
All right, so why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, about your company? I know you have a podcast now. Why don't you talk a little bit about that, and the guys will jump in and we'll tackle it.
yeah, I mean, I do like independent filmmaking. We had a film that we just finished actually behind me. There's a poster for it.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was like playing in some festivals, and now I'm working on a screenplay that I would like to turn into like a feature. That's the big goal right now. It's the mountain I must climb. And yeah, the podcast, that's a lot of fun. My friends EJ Leeson and Vince Napoli, it's like a horror podcast where we just like talk about, like we'll pick a movie of the week, and basically like Vince is not a horror fan. Like Vince has like no real like understanding or love for the horror genre.
Yeah.
So pick like a part 5 and we'll just make him watch it. And, like we'll just kind of like get his interpretation of it and just kind of go through the whole film. And really at the end of the day, it's just like an exercise of us making each other laugh. It's very fun. We try to keep it like, free of any hot topics, no politics, no anything, just like a love for film and celebrating horror and just making each other laugh. You should check it out. It's called Frequels Podcast.
And where can we find that?
You can find it really anywhere you listen to your podcast. It's on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, if that's your thing. I think it's on Amazon. It's kind of all over the place.
Cool.
I think it's being bootlegged somewhere too.
That's a really cool idea to have someone jump in like halfway through a series with no understanding of the lore, no real understanding of the mechanics of the genre because they're not a fan of the genre, and just like throw them to the wolves and see their reaction. I actually I dig that. That's awesome.
What was really funny about it was that's not what it had started out as. Like EJ used to have a podcast a long time ago. He used to do it for the show Riverdale. Do you remember that show?
Yeah.
So like he and our friend Ross, they would Ross Jones, they would just basically take episodes of Riverdale and they'd break them down and talk about them. And EJ messages me and he's like, dude, you should just like, come on the show. And I'd never seen an episode before. So I just binged it, because again, like I'm just like, I don't know if I'm the target audience for the show. But like I binged it and it's it was entertaining enough. And I just kind of went on there and I would constantly just like find these little things to riff on, and like EJ and I would just start like making each other laugh. So for the show, for frequels, I was like, dude, we should do what you guys were doing on Riverdale and just like, take a movie and kind of walk through the plot, but then find little areas to riff on and just kind of like make goofy scenarios, make each other laugh, and just kind of make it like infectious for people. And Vince was literally just going to produce it. But then like he kind of would like talk every so often and we'd bring him in and he was just so confused by what we were talking about that we're like, how about this? You're gonna watch Jason X. And you're gonna deal with it like we did, more confused. And it's just like it's a really, really fun dynamic, Like I get a lot of fun out of it. So it seems like people are too.
Random sidetrack. It's the Jason X thing reminded me of it. If you actually started somebody who was not into any type of horror, if you started them on part 10, but you gave them the DVD, how would you think that they would feel about how proud Kane Hodder was of the slow neck break? Like, there was the kid when they're in the virtual environment running around and he catches the one guy and it's like Jason snaps his neck and does it real slow and they do this lengthy cracking noise. It takes like 20 seconds. He's just like, it's absurd. On the DVD commentary to that thing, and I've seen it in YouTube clips a couple of times, Kane Hodder talking about like being able to do. He's like, "Oh no, the best part." Like he was so proud of that moment.
In all fairness, when Vince watched it, and again, having not seen the other 9 movies or anything that came after it, this was his first Friday 13th movie he saw. And
weird way to drop in.
I know, but like he didn't hate it, and I was like rewatching it. I guess like I have like a better set of eyes for it because like all the movies we watch, like that's another thing we don't do. We don't punch down on movies,
right?
Like we're not gonna just be like shitty about stuff. Do you guys curse on this show
all the time?
Yeah. Okay, maybe I should clean up my language. But our whole thing was I didn't want to like just be like terribly negative about movies because there's enough people in the world doing that.
Yeah.
But when I was like watching it, I'm like, I don't hate this movie. It's goofy and it's like, where did it come from? I don't know. But Vince didn't hate it. It was just we had definitely one of our better episodes too. There was so much stuff in that where we were just like riffing and stuff. But
yeah.
I actually liked that movie. I didn't even like I thought it was pretty decent. Like, I mean, it was the next like the franchise was toast anyway, so why not?
Yeah.
Do you think you went into like a horror community because they're all gonna sit there with their arms crossed like Jason X? But if you're that guy who's like, you know what, I didn't hate it, they'd just be like, yeah, I didn't either. It
had inventive kills, self-referential as hell. It made fun of itself while making itself. Like it was.
The liquid nitrogen space smash. I mean, I
mean, it was total.
None of us on this planet are better than that.
Right, seriously. And then you had what's his name at the beginning of the movie discovering Jason's frozen ass body. What was that dude's name?
David Cronenberg?
Yes, thank you. Of all fucking people to show up in a Friday the 13th movie. And don't be wrong, like dude has definitely slummed it a couple of times, but that is like this is way off subject. This happens, by the way.
It does. You think we're making this up for all of you listening at home. But...
It's just David Cronenberg because I mean what was the fly as a director, like he'd done so many classes, done so many amazing things, and even showing up in movies you might know him from Nightbreed as Decker, like this fucking really horrific character in a movie filled with horrific characters.
Yeah.
And then he shows up in fucking Jason X. Like, what is this hockey mask frozen thing? We should do something. He's done. He's fucking through with the movie. Doesn't matter anymore from there.
It's funny. He's like, they said that they're at the Scranton facility. That's the funniest thing in the world when you watch
it. They do, don't they?
Yeah.
I've forgotten that.
I've seen it years.
Yeah.
You mentioned, by the way, the movie, the post in the background, Burden of Beauty.
Yeah.
I was reading the IMDb. So you came up with an outline for this in a shower?
Yeah. It was weird. I made a film. Well, I helped a friend finish his film long time ago, my friend Brian. And we ran into each other at Cinemark because I think I was going to see Mary Poppins Returns. I'm not ashamed to admit it. That's what you know, Emily Blunt was wonderful. But anyway, um, I ran into him and he's just like, oh, dude, we should get together and record something. He's like, I don't care what we film. He's like, we'll just film objects. We'll film like a lamp and whatever. And I was like, well, that just sounds terribly boring. I'm not interested in that. But I was like kind of interested in the idea of maybe taking like an object and like building a story around it. So my head, I'm just like, okay, I see like a camera. And it's like now I see like a girl in front of the camera and she's sad. Why is she sad? And I just kept like building around that. And by the time the shower was done, I'm like, I'm ready to write this. Like it's just one of those weird like writing exercises. Like I definitely didn't expect it to, you know, to have such a clear view of what the story was going to be. Because
As a writer, I totally get it.
yeah, so yeah, you get that. That's one of those things where you're like 4 drafts in, you're like, no. This was like where like I didn't change much of the story. I mean, obviously, like I added little things and tweaked dialogue and stuff, but you know, just the overall themes and ideas in it kind of remain the same. So
yeah,
that was a shower. Very lucrative shower.
A decent shower. That's a good moment. That's a good 20 minutes worth of like pondering as you stand there.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, I was gonna ask how long was the show? Did I have
well, the water bill was a bitch.
Like, that's like the writer's equivalent of the like having an argument with your boss in the shower thing. You know, like, oh yeah, well you can't do that. I quit. See how this fucking does without me now.
Is that like the imaginary fight you have?
Oh yeah, no, but it's you in the moment, man. You feel the emotions.
You're like yelling at yourself in the mirror.
You get real juiced up, man.
It will look like it needs to be punched. And you remember if you do, it's gonna fall on your foot, and that's gonna fucking hurt. I'm not speaking for. I mean, I am. It maybe has happened.
It maybe has happened.
It may have happened before this episode started.
I have a light limb. It has never gone away. I've had it since I was like. Also,
yeah, that was a shower idea. So
it's the fact of whether or not some of the best ideas are thought of in a bathroom. And also, like,
not the best, but one of the better ones.
Well, business gets done.
It's a good trailer too. Like it's cut well. It's definitely I don't know, from my standpoint at least. There's an air of menace. I want to say. I don't know what's the best description there. There's a uneasiness that accompanies the shots and the way they're assembled, and there's nothing blatant, but all of it put together. Like it's very well assembled.
Yeah, it's I mean, the subject matter itself, it's a little uneasy, but it's not, you know, it's not like a horror film or anything like that. But no, I know what you mean. I've had people say that before, where they're like, "Oh, I'm intrigued."
Well, actually, that's the best way to put it. Like, there's a question. Well, like, there's some of the shots, just like I guess cinematography choices, just in the trailer. I'm basing this solely off the trailer, but. Yeah. Some of the moments where they're like it's isolating, I would call it. Like there are so many points. It's just isolation for each and I mean, there's people that are supposed to be in the same room or whatever. I guess I would know, haven't seen the movie, but like your female lead, whoever that is, every time you see her, she's kind of alone.
Yeah, that's very much an idea in the film that was explored. A lot of the shot choices too was very much to have that feeling of loneliness to it. All the characters are kind of dealing with that in their own way. So
it's conveyed well. It's conveyed really well. Like just
I was real weird with like the shot choices, because like I remember just sort of like laying on my floor, because I know it's gonna sound kind of crazy, but like every single second of that film, like I just wrote out all the shots. So it's like every single second of the film I just like had going into the movie. I was told later on that I guess sometimes what people do when they're making movies is they have sequences.
Storyboard that shit, man.
Not every second of it. But you know, that was cool. And then like, you know, the cinematographer Matthew Wise, like he did like a really wonderful job just kind of you know, taking those images and like you know, some of the like the photos that I sent of like what I wanted the rooms to look like. He just did a very good job like lighting that and bringing it to life. So, you know, was a fruitful collaboration.
And for apparently under $5,000 too, which is the other thing. What is it? The total length of the short film is what, 13,
It's about 15-ish.
15 minutes total? Is that like with credits or 15 total screen?
I would say total everything. Yeah.
So like under $5,000 is actually incredibly respectable for any short film. I mean, that's and also because back to the point, like the trailer really does not portray that it's an under $5,000 thing, like at all. Which I know that's like a weird sort of backhanded compliment. It's not. It's meant as a full on compliment.
No, I know. I appreciate that. I'll say this. There's a funny lesson that I learned in this movie. I in my own life, I try to be nice to people a lot, as much as I can, And when you're kind of cool to people, when you have things like this going on, a lot of people are willing to jump in and pitch in and just kind of let you, like, just want to help. And it really cuts down the production costs. Like the score in the movie, like one of my friends, like that I've known forever, one of my best friends, Matthew Rinaldi, he wrote this like awesome score for it for nothing. He didn't want any money. He just wanted to do it. He just loves movies. So he's like, I'll just write the score for you. I'm like, okay. The actors were just like, it was like theater in a sense. Like they weren't expecting any money. We didn't have money. So like everybody just did it because they like loved film. And in this area specifically, there's so many creative people and there's so many talented people, but there's not a lot of opportunities. So it was like you just kind of give people something and they all just want to jump in and have fun. And I'm telling you, when people don't want to get paid, it really takes that cost down.
It shows that's actually pretty cool. And that's really cool. Even having anybody, everybody on here has some type of project that involves an indie effort in some way. Like I'm an illustrator. I work for myself and I work for a lot of other people. Craig is a writer. And very clearly, Billy has his music and I guess several different podcast things kind of going, I guess.
Yeah, trying to
go in there. The point is, there's so much indie effort, and like you don't do things like this unless you fucking love it.
Yeah.
Well, and it comes through too, like when people really care. Like the actors in it. Actually, one of the actors in the movie is actually my co-host on Frequels. He's just like a powerhouse of talent, EJ Leeson. He's just very funny, very charismatic, and he's just like, I don't know, he's like the human equivalent of painkillers. He's just like, but I gave him a role that was completely opposite of who he is as a person. It's very like intense, very troubled character, and he just crushed it. And like Melina Barry and Chris Alou, like they just, they're just like fantastic performers. So, kind of so that they made me look better than probably
human equivalent of painkillers as a descriptive term. That's fucking great.
Yeah, he's just like a very pleasant person. If you listen to him on the show, it's like how he is all the time. He's just funny. But yeah, you guys have worked on movies before? Like you guys all have like things going on, you said?
Not in your area. Ours would be more along like you have Craig is an independent writer, author. He's got a few books out.
Oh, cool.
Obviously has the Deftones. They sort of speak for themselves. And I'm an illustrator. I'm a complete gun for hire for different things, working in commissions and shit like that.
Oh, cool.
But all of us, I will guarantee, have had around. Like I love comics. Big fan of comic books. Any comic book you name it, I probably love the series at one point in time or another. Have written multiples that were really for my own entertainment. It's just because, like I said, you don't do that type of thing unless you love doing it.
Yeah, he designed one of my book covers too. So
yeah, it's actually how we met. He posted something and I randomly came across it. And I was like, you know what, we could do better than that. I'm going to do a cover for you.
That's awesome.
Plus, I get time occasionally, and if I don't have projects, I get weird. I mean, I'm not completely normal, anyways, but I get real weird if I don't have shit to focus on.
Dude, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I was telling my girlfriend this the other day. I was kind of like, I had like not like writer's block, but it was like something. Like it was like I wasn't feeling the material. And that feeling of like when you're not doing something creative and you're not getting out what's inside your head, it makes I kind of felt like Jack Torrance a little bit. Like I was just kind of like smoking around my apartment. I'm like,
I'm always afraid that I won't be able to find it again.
Yeah.
No,
Like,
that is a horrifying feeling of just being like, that's it. Like I don't get that anymore. That feeling. That
But it's
Ugh.
even worse. Like if you get I would imagine it's the same with any creative endeavor. But if you stop doing it long enough, that whole like use it or lose it sort of situation,
Yeah.
you don't really ever lose it. Like it is like riding a bike. The only difference is when you get back on the bike, you may have a hard time remembering how to balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eventually, you'll get back to it, but you have to force yourself into it. And that is a horrible thing to be in. I'm not saying it happens to everybody, but it's definitely happened to me. Like if I run out of projects, that's what I'm saying. I get weird. I run out of projects, and it's like I feel like I'll never be able to get back to it. And when I do get back to it, it feel right. I feel like I could do better.
Yeah.
Don't you feel like
I get it.
Like there's like some weird high that you get from it?
Oh God,
yeah.
yes.
Oh, yeah.
You have like a really good day of being like artistic, and you go out into the world. It's like a burden's lift, and you can enjoy the sun.
Everything is no, seriously, everything is brighter.
Yeah.
Everything is brighter. There's a real feeling there. You get that, like that sense of accomplishment can only be given through that. I would, you know what, a really good carpenter probably feels the same way when they make an awesome chair.
Yeah.
I'm saying it's got to be. The
No, man, it's a weird sort of thing that nobody really understands. I remember even being on like a beach and like working on a scene and being like, why can't you get this scene done, you fool? And I'm just sitting there, like this beautiful day, and I'm just like, there's sand in my notebook, and I'm like, what are you doing?
You mentioned writing out scenes, right? Like writing out your description for what a scene should look like. So like the comic book thing, I used to outline before I'd sit down and draw if I was thinking about it. So I would like literally write my description for what I thought a scene, like a frame should look like.
Yeah.
3/4 view up from a certain angle towards the right of frame and so forth. Was it like that kind of writing, or were you like doing like little sketch boxes and like?
It's basically like you're just creating the entire like scene that you would see in a movie, right? So you're like writing the dialogue, the movement, the camera movement. That's what is going through my head all the time. Even right now, like there's just like this stuff I'm working on while I'm talking to you guys. It's just like it's like being possessed by a demon or something. But it's like a nice, like a pleasant demon.
Yeah.
It's like if Pazuzu wasn't such an asshole.
Right. Also, another funny thing.
Weird analogy, but what's up?
I was going to say there was another. It's going to be another aside. Hasn't got fuck all to do with anything we're talking about. But the Pazuzu thing. So recently, obviously, I say recently, October, Halloween. All the different Halloween lists that come up all over social media. One of them, they were doing like the most terrifying freeze frame single moments in horror, and one of them that always makes the list is the Pazuzu face, right from The Exorcist. And so, unpopular, unsupportable opinion. That is one of the dumbest looking fucking faces in horror history to me. Like the fake teeth with the red with the white, and it's just like, don't get me wrong. For a brief moment, sure, but if you have to linger there for a moment,
if you look at it long enough, but that's the thing, they don't let you look at it long enough.
Like it's like they knew that was only going to be there for a second. They knew it because holy shit, that kind of budget, that's what they do.
Tell you what, though, it did its job, man. 5-year-old Bill, he was not doing good with that, man. I did not sleep for like 2 weeks. It was bad. It was bad news bears, man.
Terrifying.
I know if you watched there was when they re-released The Exorcist, I think it was back in like 2000, 2001, they put it back in theaters.
Yep.
And they called it The Virgin You've Never Seen. And then you see it, and that title no longer makes any sense to you.
Yeah, not at
all. But I remember seeing it in the theater, and I noticed that they took that face and they dropped it into a few more places.
Yeah.
If it's only used, like that director, the original theatrical cut is perfect. Like adding anything else to it is like drawing a mustache on the Mona Lisa.
Wait, who directed? Was it? It wasn't Friedkin. Who directed it? Was it Friedkin?
William Friedkin, one of the greatest directors,
right?
One of the most downplayed directors ever. But like that movie is so powerful the way that it is, and when you take that face and you keep dropping it into a couple extra places, it does lose a little bit of its power.
I know it completely sucks. Well, that's the whole point too. Is also when you get a freeze frame of it, it sucks all. Like if you got just seeing the movie, in that moment where it pops up and it's sudden and I wouldn't call it violent, but it's enough to get you. Like if you're watching
quick thing. What I think what I think gets me the most is more the facial features when it does flash. Like, I don't know, they nailed it between the makeup and like the facial features. It amazed me. Like, it terrified me, but
Well, this is why I put
Yeah.
out that it's an unpopular opinion. Well, just like similar to that, you always get like with The Exorcist. What one of the standout scenes, obviously, is the crucifix and the "Let Jesus speak." You know that.
yeah,
Very clearly that's a dark fucking scene for a lot of reasons. Not to do with the fact that it's supposed to be a 12-year-old possessed girl. But for me, and I didn't know it's until the re-release in theaters, because obviously I was of an age where I never got to see it in theaters. I had forgotten the scene existed.
yeah,
The crab walk backwards down the stairs when she vomits a bunch of fucking blood. That scene
yeah,
is goddamn terrifying.
Yeah, that's something.
And so
Yeah.
is just her standing and saying, "You're all going to die up there," and pissing on her feet.
yeah.
You know what's interesting about the spider walk is what they call it, the backwards down the steps thing.
I refuse. I'm calling it crab walk. I think about Zoidberg.
Crap.
I like crab walk. It works. That scene, it's very indicative of the kind of director that William Friedkin was, because that scene is it kind of comes after a very emotional moment. Because it's like, Chris McNeil finds out that, Burke died up in Reagan's room, right out the window, right out the window. And her reaction to it, it's like this emotional burst where she like turns, screams, punches the wall. And then a couple minutes later or seconds later is when Reagan comes down the stairs doing the walk. And he understood that like that moment you needed to feel Chris have that moment, and that moment where she comes down the stairs doing the spider walk, it undercuts it. So the fact that he had like that, whatever it is, that understanding of what was the best thing for the movie, to remove that must have just taken so much restraint. You know what I mean? Like that's like a level of restraint that I don't think a lot of people would have adhered to, because they would want the shock, the scary moment over the emotional thing. But the emotional thing is what's important for the rest of the movie to be frightening.
Yeah.
I'm very impressed with the fact that he cut that out, because I just don't think that another filmmaker probably would have.
No. Well, and that's you can see that in the way that horror has continued to, I don't know, let's say evolve. The good majority of horror, like there's the A24 stuff, the A24 stuff, right? There's a lot of people that are really getting into it, and I think it's because it's not so just jump scare after jump scare, fucking quiet followed by high pitched piercing noise, jump scare moments. It's not about the sound quality; it's about the actual story. So I think there's the older horror, like The Exorcist, and fuck, even the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, there was still a level of build to it. It was like in Texas Chainsaw Massacre kicks off and just keeps fucking going, but it still builds.
Yeah.
A lot of horror, like a lot of modern horror, doesn't do that anymore. It's just jump scare after fucking jump scare after fucking jump scare.
Well, it's an instant gratification culture for sure. Like people don't want to sit and wait for the moment to build. Like I think Hereditary is a wonderful example of like a well-made horror film today, like Ari Aster. I remember seeing that in the theater and being like, this feels like a horror film from the 70s. I mean, like it had those 1970s sensibilities, and I was like, wow, I'm watching a real movie.
It felt like it felt dirty at parts. Like
it did. And it's like
grimy.
It got you too, like Toni Collette, like
really,
she is
wonderful,
amazing in that movie. Like she rips your heart out, like, and I find it awful that she didn't at least get nominated for that.
I think a lot of people did. There was a lot of pissed off people on that. They should have been, because I mean, it just goes to show that the Academy has played favorites for years, and most of it's been about paying people back. I mean, look at was it Halle Berry ended up picking up the best actress nom for oh fucking hell, what was it? Monsters Ball?
Catwoman. No, I'm kidding.
I was really hoping it wasn't Catwoman.
Marissa Tomei is what I was thinking about. Actually, she ended up picking up a best supporting actress nod for, or not nod, but actually the actual statue for My Cousin Vinny, right? But she was actually considered the year before. I can't remember the movie, but it was a drama. It was a well-known piece, and like that, she should have won it for that, but she lost out to somebody else who the Academy owed from a year before. There's this whole chain that goes all the way back to where it was all about politics more than it was about who actually deserved it. So when you get somebody like Toni Collette, that woman, honestly, in every movie she's in, she I mean, you hear about like chewing the scenery. That woman destroys everything around her. Like she becomes a central moment, a thing to focus on. Like she is brilliant at what she does.
I agree, man.
Yeah.
We just did an episode on did you ever see Krampus?
Yeah.
God, yeah, I
Michael
watch it every year.
Flick?
Ever
So
since it came out.
we watched that, and she was the one I was paying attention to the most. Like it's just her acting is so effortless, you know.
It is. It completely is, and it's not one of those like where she is playing her like. You had something like Jeff Goldblum, where a part is written for Jeff Goldblum, and it's Jeff Goldblum playing Jeff Goldblum. That's not her. She actually plays the character, but effortless. That's the descriptor. Like she just is.
Yeah,
she's a method actor.
Yeah, the Oscars I don't think are the best way to determine anything. You know, there's like a little, you know, I think you said it nicely. There's it was a little political sometimes. That I don't know. I don't think they always go off of what is the best movie. Sometimes I think it's what they think the best movie should be, as opposed to what might be the best movie.
Well, it's also, and then you have the whole Oscar grab situation where you have these huge campaigns that are launched before the movie's even released. You know, like they have shit. What was it? Okay, so you have some movies that are made to be Oscar movies, not because that was the director's intent, but that's because it's the subject matter. There's nothing you can do about it. Let's take Schindler's List. That movie's a gut punch all the way through. It doesn't matter how
one of the powerful movies I've ever seen.
Absolutely, there's not a moment in that movie where you're not like, oh my Christ, you know, like every single.
Seriously, like that's such a funny example because my girlfriend and I we just rewatched it a couple months ago.
You rewatched it on purpose?
Well, we were going through all Spielberg's movies. That's what I do with my free time.
Oh God, I felt really good about myself today. We need to fix that shit, lady. Let's do the list.
We got to I bought the 4K for it, and I'm just like, you know, watching it. I haven't seen it since I was in high school, and I've seen so many friggin' horror movies in my life, and some of the most like horrific scenarios are in those movies, and I am so desensitized to it. But I'm watching Schindler's List, and there's like moments where I'm like, I think I need to pause this.
Yeah, like you have to.
Reactions like that. I could watch the most like disgusting shit, and I'm just like, I want a sandwich. I'm watching Schindler's List, and I'm like, I think I need to take a break.
Real horror, I think, is what that comes down to, right? It's also the reason I think why the A24 shit hits a little bit harder. At least some of the well thought out Ari Aster stuff does. It's because it's done in this fictitious, almost fairy tale like way, but it's still so visceral
and human.
Yeah, like it's hard not to like. You understand like you would like the back to Hereditary. You got him swerving off the road. Not to, if anybody's watching this and hasn't seen it, just pretend like this isn't happening. But swerving off the road and just coming to a stop, and that you don't see anything, but you see his face, and you see him just fucking shut off. And he drives home, completely shut off. He gets out of the car, completely shut off. And he lays down, completely shut off until he hears screaming, and that's what snaps him back out. That
you can't process that.
No, like that is well, you know, I'm willing to bet. Not that I ever want it to happen, but if it did, I'm pretty
that's
sure
what would happen.
Anyway.
Because like the movie impulse is to have him just like stop and get out of the car, and he's over her body screaming. It's like a con moment, like
yeah, overhead like Shawshank.
Yeah. Why God? That is born this day.
Got the cartoon going on.
That would be the one.
But like, yeah, I think the something so horrific and traumatic would happen to you, you probably wouldn't do anything. You probably would just like drive home, get into bed, and just lay there. You're not sleeping, but you're just gonna lay there, and it's just like
waiting for the inevitable. What's but your 17-year-old kid, what are you gonna do? I can think
anguish of your mother's scream is what takes him out of it, because it's like that's reality again.
Again, brilliant scene. That movie can't be talked up enough.
No.
Mentioned Schindler's List, but only the one time. I don't know why anybody would do that to themselves twice. Oh, God.
Misery porn.
Oh, wait, back to the point though. Like, there's some stuff that's made. Like, Schindler's List was not made as Oscar bait to me, but it was definitely an Oscar worthy, right? Like, so much.
You think that was an Oscar bait movie?
I
feel like that was like Spielberg, like.
That was Spielberg. That was Spielberg finishing an idea for a final thesis for school, and it was something that was important to it.
I think if you watch, did you see The Fablemans?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I thought that was good.
The answer to why he made that movie is in that film. There's just like that part of him that he was exploring because he is Jewish, and I think that was more of like probably his. I'm gonna say this in a very a very specific way. I don't think it's his most iconic movie. I don't think it's his the movie that you're gonna think of like when Steven Spielberg dies someday. You're not gonna be like Schindler's List. It is absolutely his masterpiece, and I don't think that there's a lot of movies that have like that level of like who he really is present. Maybe E.T.
Yeah.
Actually, I was going to say E.T., to be fair.
Yeah. Like I think that's his best movie, just not his most iconic movie or the movie that you would call your favorite. It's just
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like,
I know that's a real experience, that one.
That's the thing. I don't think that was Oscar bait. I think that like something like Tears of the Sun was fucking Oscar bait. Like that's what I'm saying. Like the difference is that movie was made with intent and focus. Tears of the Sun was also, but it was made with the intent of getting an Oscar. Like it's just it. I don't know. Back to the whole point. There are a lot of back to Tony Collette. You deserve a goddamn Oscar. Is what we're trying to. That's what all this comes down to.
Let's get that Oscar year back in motion.
Fucking wonderful and Hereditary. Not just for a fucking horror movie. It should have been for fucking any movie. Best actress. Period.
Where's your Krampus Oscar, Tony?
Yeah, that one too. They should have like best actress in a fucking kind of weird movie that was still good.
I thought it was weird that like Krampus didn't win for best supporting Krampus in a horror film. I thought that was weird.
At the time, actually, for the number of fucking Krampus movies that were coming out, like to be fair, it really should have been like, and best Krampus for Krampus movies goes to Krampus.
Yeah. That would have been awesome to see Krampus go and do like his acceptance speech.
The
He starts talking about the environment.
I mean, actually, if it had won anything, you would have. If more people would get back to acknowledging what it takes to make a practical effect. Honestly, it should have been nominated for some of that shit. Like some of the makeup in that movie, fucking stunning. Then again, so was the shit in A Christmas Horror Story, which let's call it a contemporary. Not at all a ripoff because the cover was not meant to capitalize. It was definitely meant to capitalize. But William Shatner had a voiceover in it, and for that, I'm happy.
I got to meet William Shatner.
Really?
Always wanted to, but I'm afraid he's a character of himself at this point.
Well, so I went to a Comic-Con a bunch of years ago, and I met Kevin Conroy. 3 hours later, I met Mark Hamill, and then 20 minutes after that, I met William Shatner. And I was terrified to meet William Shatner because I heard from people that he was going to be a dick. They're like, if he's weird to you, don't be upset. I'm like, and he was so nice. So that's all I gotta say. William Shatner was cool.
It's a hell of a day.
I know.
That is a hell of a day.
It's a hell of a day, man.
Most played Batman on Earth. Like that dude. Speaking of which, God, R.I.P.
I know.
Yeah. You got Batman and the Joker in the same day.
That's seriously. And for that,
that's funny. I didn't talk to him at all about Star Wars because that's like the go-to. You want to talk to him about Star Wars, but I was like, people have been doing this to him all day. I'm going to talk about a Simpsons show.
Yeah, you pull something out. It's like I'm not just one of the crowd. Like you're gonna remember me.
Dude, I brought up his
Twilight Zone.
I brought up Mark Hamill's Simpsons episode, and like somebody was talking about Return of the Jedi, and you could just see he was in like a zone where he's like, yeah, that's a good movie. And then I brought the Simpsons, and he just lit up, like he got so excited. Talk about the Simpsons, because why the hell wouldn't you be excited to talk about the Simpsons?
Amazing stories. That's what I meant, not Twilight Zone. Twilight Zone was really shut.
Remember
You see behind me?
Yeah, that's I think you and I'd get along very well.
Oh no, God, yes. How would you not?
I don't know you, but I'm looking around your room and I'm like, this guy's all right.
Yeah, it's because there's nothing in here that isn't from fucking 40 years worth of being a complete nerd. And I'm content with it though. I found the shit that made me happy relatively early on, and I just ran with it.
It's a good life. It's a good life.
I mean, I literally just finished assembling a Christmas present.
Oh, look at that! That's awesome.
The Ghost.
That's awesome.
Fucking love them. One of my favorite things ever, always has been since I was like 5 years old. It has never left me the enjoyment of putting Legos together.
I don't know if any of you guys are gamers, but speaking of A24, A24, whatever, I don't know if you heard about the new Hideo Kojima game that he's collaborating with them for that.
Yep.
Like, I think that's gonna be sick.
That's the next logical step, right? Especially to Death Stranding, right? So like he's had that fucking horror feel even back to the Metal Gear shit.
Yeah.
Like even in the first PS1 Metal Gear, there were like horror moments, even down.
Oh yeah.
Praying the Mantis.
Psycho Mantis, when you had to switch out your controller ports so you could read your mind. Yeah.
Like when I first started playing that, and everybody, this was obviously pre-internet access for me, anyways. I didn't know what to do. I had to go like to a Barnes and Noble and look at the fucking strategy guide and try and remember. So Hideo Kojima definitely, and also they also did the what was the thing on the PS3?
PC?
PS3
that might have been PS4.
With the thing where you're going through the house over and over again, and it was
that's PT, yeah. It was like a tech demo that never got made into a game. I think it was like supposed to be for like the next Silent Hill, but
it
was
to show what they were able to do, and then obviously everything went to shit, and Konami basically was like, fuck
and
you.
Kojima. And then they came out with Metal Gear Survive, and that was a bad idea.
On that, especially when they dropped that. Like, I didn't even bother playing it. The last Metal Gear I played was Snake Eater.
That was a great game. Are you getting the remake?
At Hideo Kojima by himself, though, he is. Let's call. I don't know. I don't know what you would describe him as. He is a brilliant
madman. A brilliant madman.
Working with A24 makes all the sense in the fucking world.
Oh, for him, absolutely.
They will put something out.
They're made for each other.
Like, I don't know if I should touch my video game system anymore because it's possessed. And you'll lisp. Even if you don't have a lisp, you're going to lisp. I think it's really the only thing you could do.
I think we're overdue for a break, gentlemen.
Off subject.
We'll take a break and we'll come back.
Sounds good.
They're doing push-ups in Peoria. They're jogging in LA. They're exercising everything in lots of crazy ways. What take it from the chopper? Hey, the chopper, yeah, that's me. If you want to have great choppers, exercise your teeth. Exercise those choppers, really chew, chew, chew. Exercise those choppers on some good hard food. Your molars grind, your canines tear, incisors bite right through. So exercise those choppers on some good hard food. Pumpernickel, carrot sticks, crunchy fruits and nuts. Things you really have to chew will make your choppers tough. So take it from the chopper, 'cause choppers know it's true. Exercise is great, but exercise your choppers too. Hey, chopper, how about running a few laps with us? Hey, later, man. I'm eating a celery stick. This is hard exercise.
I've got a thing for gold, really gonna make a monkey out of this big fella. Gotta roll the barrels before he pops. Thing for things.
I've got a thing for Dr. Wacko. Gonna flip his lids before he flips his top. Do it all before the timer stops. I get a thing for things.
Try all 3 new things: Gorilla, Dr. Wacko, and Astronaut.
I've got a thing for astronauts. Gotta save them all before the timer stops. Here comes the alien. Look at his chops. I've got a thing for things.
Collect all the things from Milton Bradley.
You need a thing for things.
We're back.
Hello, everyone.
Well, we blew that opening.
That's what editing's for. All right, ready. All right, welcome back to Dad Mentor. We got Craig, we got Jason, we got our guest Rory Colarossi. I am Billy Bones. All right, Jason, I feel like you have something you want to say.
I feel like I'm on a game show right now.
We have a relatively limited amount of time on the back half of this. This is actually, I think the example that I gave while we were on break is if you were standing in the middle of a horror con and you had to voice an opinion that was definitely going to piss off everybody in that horror con about a movie, a franchise, a character, what is your most unpopular opinion that you would fucking die defending on that hill?
Well, let's start with you, good sir.
Honestly, for me, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a classic.
Mm-hmm.
Tobe Hooper, fucking love the movie, but it's not as good as the fucking remakes. It's not.
I feel like because
Reboots
that's
are
because
just-
like
we're fucking
the
incredible.
remakes were more story driven, like
Just story driven, just all of it. Like the whole
Yeah.
like, there are moments when you watch the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like you got the freak hitchhiker just fucking cutting a crippled dude's leg.
yeah,
Right?
and there's no explanation to anything. Yeah.
No, it's a horrible thing. I mean, there was like Rob Zombie made a career out of making a love letter to the fucking movie, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that is that I understand. But the remakes, and a lot of horror people are not with the remake. The remakes of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre took the fucking idea behind it, hit the ground, and ran with that shit. The origin story was fucking great. The characters were great. The effects were great. The characters that were meant to be despicable were really despicable. The characters you were meant to like, you rooted for, even though you knew
Yeah.
they didn't have a fucking chance.
Yeah.
The remakes for Texas Chainsaw, up until the one with Alexander Daddario, which even that one was still good in a silly kind of a way, they were fucking wonderful. All of them were good, except for Next Generation. Fuck that one.
So I'm gonna throw something in here. I always like to say this to people whenever we get these kind of conversations. I respect everybody's views on everything. I couldn't disagree more. Because I think the point of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre is that when you're saying the things that aren't explained, I think that's what's scary about it. Because it's almost like when you're in that van with those kids, they're coming into something that they don't understand and that you as an audience member don't understand. You are like literally going with them into like a nightmare of a scenario.
I get
And
that.
I'm a firm believer that the less you understand about something frightening, the better. The second you turn the light on in a dark room, it's not scary anymore. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like Leatherface, I don't need a backstory on him. I don't need to know anything about the family. I just know that like, that's kind of how it would feel in real life. Like you would just like walk into this house and you're no longer in control of your life anymore. You are at the mercy of psychopaths. And that movie just like, and even the look of it, it's one of those movies, one of those rare movies where like, I love 4Ks, but I feel like the more you clean that movie up, the more of a detriment it is to it. Because it like I saw this this movie behind me right here, that American movie. Best description I've ever heard for Texas Chainsaw Massacre is that it looks like one of those like 16mm accident films they would show kids in like the 70s. It just feels like you're watching something you're not supposed to see. It's dirty. But as far as that franchise, I always felt like that was a one and done. But I'm not saying like you are not entitled to your opinion. I don't want you to think that I'm
No, I get
you're
that.
wrong, because art is subjective.
Well, it is completely subjective, which is all right, for me, the best way I know how to sum it up, the reason behind my thoughts on this, going to the theater to see, like I've seen it released on theater, right? Or at the theater. It is a great, like I said at the beginning, it is a great movie. It's a classic. It was influential on so many different levels. There are so many movies that would not exist without it existing. However, that first remake, what was it? The first reboot came out in like 2003.
2003, yeah.
Was it 2003? All right. The opening scene where they pick up the girl instead of the hitchhiker, and like there's like I remember sitting in the theater. It was me and like maybe 10 other people. I'm sitting in the theater watching this, and I see her fucking suddenly show up with a gun after messing around with her fucking dress for a second. I'm like, well, that was it. Like that's a lie.
Yeah.
But more importantly, when it freeze frames and fucking you get everybody in the van, you get their perspective after she's fucking offed herself. And you get the camera pulling out through her head for that moment made the whole movie what it really could have been to me.
Yeah.
And obviously it was done differently. Clearly we have more ability to make any idea a reality on screen now. There was a lot there, but that was an intense fucking scene. And it set the pace for the rest of the movie, even as a remake. Knowing what you know, like if you were that familiar with the Texas Chainsaw movies, which I was, like the first, second, and the third, which I don't feel like gets enough credit.
Yeah.
Those movies were super influential to me. The remakes felt like what they were supposed to be. They were to me what an Oreo cakester is to an Oreo. This is what an Oreo was meant to be. This is what we had.
I
Now,
love Oreos. I love them.
well, because they're fucking Oreos, which goes actually back to the point to illustrate it even more. It's still a fucking Oreo. It's going to be good either way.
Yeah.
But that is the unnecessary opinion that I would die on a hill defending, is that the remake of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies was actually better than the original. It was, they took the idea and they ran with it. And they made it what it, I mean, fucking Arlie Ermy, and like dealing with the one dude knocking his teeth out, making him do push-ups over the fucking night, like just driving in the car and fucking knocking his teeth out with a fucking pint bottle just because he fucking could. Like that is a level of sadism.
Yeah.
I guess it takes a military drill instructor to impart.
I could probably pull this up. I have a photo of Arlie Ermy choking me.
Oh, do you?
That's awesome.
Yeah, he was at a convention that I went to, and he was exactly how you want him to be.
God, even there's another fucking, like, sorry, not what's sidetracking. The Frighteners. I like, people talk about it, right? Like everybody talks about it. If you're a horror person, you talk about it. If you just like movies, man, that movie does not get enough credit for how brilliant it was.
Yeah.
Sorry, it was bad. It was because of Arlie Ermy. Just the great guy. It was fucking great. It's Michael J. Fox running around dealing with Arlie Ermy. Integrate. That's a stupid fucking idea. See, that is mine. That is the thing that I would die on a hill defending.
Okay.
Anyone else have a shit opinion? Huh?
By
the way, I do know it's a shitty opinion.
No, dude, it's not. It's your opinion.
Oh, no. I'm aware. I am aware. It's definitely something that would be argued.
I think everybody on the planet has seen, like, one of those definitive movies that people are like, you have to see this before you die, and you see it and you're like, okay.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
We've all been there. Texas
Yeah.
Chainsaw Massacre wasn't your cup of tea. That's fine.
Only by comparison to its later incarnation. By itself, that was something I should specify. The movie by itself, like I said, was so incredibly influential, and it was good. Like the first time I saw it, it was definitely like, it was terrifying when I saw it when I was like fucking 6, 7 years old. It was horrifying, right?
Yeah.
I was 6 or 7 years old. When you watch it again as an adult, though, you realize it's actually not that terrible. Most of what happens is really just the insanity of what they're dealing with, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like the reboots made it horrifying on every level.
Yeah.
It's not just the insanity of what you're dealing with, it's the fact you can't get away from it because it's everywhere. You are the invader in this area. It's basically The Hills Have Eyes, except for done in fucking Kansas around a slaughter plant.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I like The Hills Have Eyes reboot better too.
I got one for you. I'll stand on a hill, die for this one. You guys Halloween fans? You like the Halloween movies?
Definitely.
All right. I'm getting ready to take some shots here. I'm going in. I think Halloween H2O is a far more satisfying movie than any of the 3 lame movies that they just put out.
Fuck it. I actually don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
I'll explain it because I'm sure someone at home is just like, well, fuck this.
Was it Buster Rhymes?
No, I found that Laurie Strode in H2O was such an interesting character to me because she felt so real and believable, and her way of handling trauma just felt real to me, right? Because they were
for my edification, because I'm trying to remember. I just said Buster Rhymes. H2O was the one where what's her name?
With the school.
Okay, sorry, completely different movie. My apologies. I was thinking about the one where Buster Rhymes fucking drop kicks him.
Awful.
Oh man.
Terrible movie. Resurrection,
I got it now.
Resurrection is literally like, if you want to know how low a bar can be.
Yeah, we're on the same
that
page.
one.
No, I get you.
That one's in here. No, H2O, yeah, it's like basically a continuation of this from the second film. It ignores 3 through 6, and they just focus up the Laurie Strode story. So what I found really interesting about that is that they were smart enough to include the second movie, because Laurie Strode literally watches Michael Myers walk out of an explosion, still on fire, walking towards her, she sees essentially like the Terminator coming after her, and she knows that he's going to keep coming. So when you come back to her in H2O, she's literally run off to California, like as far away as she can get. And she's hiding behind like the fence of this private school,
Yeah.
running away from her past. And she's drinking herself, taking pills. Her relationships are all falling apart because she's just not dealing with that trauma. And I love when he finally catches back up with her and she has that moment. It's such a great iconic moment when like the door closes and they're face to face looking at each other through the window. And again, she does the same thing. She just like, she gathers up her son and Molly, and they're running back to the car, and she has that moment to take off and just keep running. But instead she just stops and she's just like, if I keep running, he's going to keep coming after me. I have to face this. I have to really embrace what my life is. And when she calls him out, like I remember seeing that in the theater, I was like 14, and I had chills throughout my body because it was just kind of this moment, like it felt so earned. And that showdown, it's so satisfying, and it's so unfortunate that they undercut that awesome ending by making a terrible sequel that had no business to exist. But
yeah,
when we catch up to the Laurie character again in these new movies, well, now they're saying, well, 2 didn't even happen. Now we're just going off the first movie. The logic in that film was that Laurie was chased across the yard by a guy with a kitchen knife. She ran up some steps. He tried to get her. He got shot off a balcony and then got arrested again. But for some reason, she's carrying that around for 40 years, and she's become Sarah Connor, and she's static and boring, and there's no like growth of that character in that movie. And I felt like the entire 3 films, she was the same. And it's fucking crazy to me that those filmmakers managed to make me not like Jamie Lee Curtis in a movie. That is a remarkable talent. So I would say I like H2O far more than I like those 3 new movies.
I can deal with it.
With the exception, I do love that the Michael and the new movies. I thought that actor did an awesome job.
Did a great job. Especially
like, the movies suck.
Here's the thing. So if you take them for what they are, I'm okay with them. Like Craig and I actually watched one of them together, the most recent, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the one where they basically pass the torch on to this random kid who fucking cares.
Yeah. The only one I liked.
Yeah. Well,
that's that movie, and I'm like, at least this one's trying something different.
Yeah, no, they tried.
Yeah.
Right. I thought about that movie, and I think it's what we were talking about, was the fact that by that point, the one thing I fucking hate in slashers is when a lore has built up over a period of time and people are still standing there being like, oh, that's a myth. Is it, motherfucker? You're anti that shit. You fucking shut up. What I dug about the new ones was, at least the fact was, like, everybody in the town was like, oh no, that shit's fucking real. It's fucking real. Like, if some weird shit happens, this fucker shows up, fucking run. You're done. Just get out.
But what are they basing that off of, though?
They're basing it off the first movie, not the second.
The only film that counts in that canon is the original movie. So Michael Myers showed up, he killed 3 teens, and he got arrested. So when you see him in Halloween Kills, everyone in the town's like, he's been terrorizing this town for 40 years. I'm like, no, one night for a few hours.
Not really, yeah, not like, if you do the time, definitely not 40 years. It's definitely been less than that.
Well, that was the thing. They said it was like the 40 years had passed since 1978. So that first movie is the only one that counts. So they're trying to basically say that the sequels count when they find it convenient, but ignore it for the rest of the film. It's so bizarre to me.
H2O is the one where Curtis takes his head off, right?
Yeah, it's so awesome.
Okay, so that is the whole, very clearly they were like, this has to be the last one, except for the next one that came out, and that was the one with Busta Rhymes, right? Where he had a scar on his neck.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But no, he didn't have a scar on his neck. They said
There's one where they show him he's got the scar on his neck from her cutting his head off.
Well, what it was that they say that Michael Myers attacked a paramedic and crushed his larynx and then put his costume on the paramedic, and the paramedic was actually the person that she decapitated. But when you watch that movie, it doesn't track
Dumbest
because
goddamn
he's
thing
trying to kill her. Like,
At least
even if it was a paramedic, like, why wouldn't you take the mask off? Your first instinct would be like, what the fuck is on my face?
Yeah, no, seriously, that is exactly your first instinct would have been to clear the fucking airways.
Yeah, just get this off my face. Hey, I'm not gonna kill you. Let me out of this truck.
I was gonna say, at least goes to hell. They were like, hey, this heart was hypnotizing. Everybody, that's cool. The heart hypnotized you. We get it. Cool. We're gonna suspend disbelief because it's fucking Jason. But I feel like wouldn't you have suspended disbelief if there had been any type of descriptor with Michael other than his eyes look like pure evil?
The description of Michael?
Yeah, like when you think about it, like you had the best descriptor you ever had in the Halloween movies concerning Michael Myers, like what he was, why he was what he was pure evil. That came from Donald Pleasance, right? Dr. Loomis.
Yeah.
Pure evil. He is darkness incarnate. He is evil. Behind his eyes, there is nothing. It is just darkness.
You want to know what the best description of him is? It's actually not even from Dr. Loomis. It's in the first movie though. Do you remember when the Gravedigger is like taking Dr. Loomis to Judith Meyer's grave?
Yeah.
And telling the story of I think the character's name was Charlie Bowles is the person he's like talking about how he's like every town has a story like this, and he's talking about the guy getting the hacksaw.
Because he was an Elm Street.
What he's essentially saying is that like he's basically laying down the themes of what the movie's about, and also weirdly enough what Halloween Ends is about, which is that evil like essentially like touches you, and then it does what it does. It like causes destruction and pain. It like leaves a path of destruction essentially, and moves on, and it changes shape. That's what evil is. You know what I mean? So it's like that description there is what I loved about like the original Halloween and Halloween Ends, is because they really kind of explore that. But yeah, as far as like Michael Myers as a character, he's not supposed to be a character. He's just the shape.
No, the shape, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
He's a fill-in for darkness.
Yeah, exactly. He's a stand-in for evil.
Yeah.
Which definitely explains the ability to lift the nerfs off the ground without her fucking splitting in half. I'm not saying I've tried, but I'm saying if I did try, I would like use props or something. There's no way that.
Hey, he lifts up Adam Arkin too. Remember that in the H2O? He stabs him in the back and he lifts the guy up just like he did with the nurse in Halloween.
Yeah, yeah.
He's like, "Hey, want to call back?" That?
Right? Like if you were going to draw attention to what you were doing, you're definitely going to reproduce that scene in some way, because that was that. I remember like when I was a little kid. Oh, hey, this brings up another interesting question. What is the most terrifying horror movie horror movie moment for you that you have seen in theater? What was a moment
theater?
You watched a horror movie where a moment happened and you were like, "Oh, fuck me, that's terrible." I mean, I've got mine immediately, but it's.
Does it have to be in the theater?
I'm thinking theater specifically because of the first, like one of the, like you know that the feeling you get with a good jump scare, that weird fucking adrenaline rush where it's almost like a tickly feeling up your chest. You have a second where your heart's beating a little too fast, and you're watching it and trying to kind of pull yourself back into the fact that it's a movie.
Mm-hmm.
There's a brief moment. It doesn't take long because we're all rational human beings, but it does exist, and it is a moment where if it's done right, it's not just a jump scare. It's a jump scare with horrifying ramifications. Like for me, the example would be fucking Candyman. I saw it in theaters where the little kid went into the public bathroom and they do a flashback wherein he had his genitals removed and they had been dumped in the toilet. When they were talking about the Cabrini Green, like Candyman, the evil that was there. It was only a moment. It takes less than fucking 3 seconds on screen, but it is horrifying. It is like it still gets me even now watching the movie. It'll make me jump for a second. I know it's fucking coming.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not necessarily because of the content, it's because of the implication. The fact that this had happened in a community and they just let it go because that's just how it was there. Like that's what's terrifying about it. Like I said, it's the implication behind it. So that is an example anyways. Like what is a moment in a horror movie that literally nailed you because of that? And it's hard to
say it's like
fan. It's hard.
I wouldn't say it was terrifying, but like the uneasiness of in House of a Thousand Corpses, like the shooting scene Where like
Oh,
they choose
God,
that.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Dude, Walter Goggins.
Yeah.
Get his. Yeah.
That fucking song.
Watching that in theaters, everybody laughing, but it was a nervous laughter. Like
Yeah.
it's not like even, but then again, like I said, a love letter to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That
Yeah.
is what House of a Thousand Corpses is.
I love
Right.
that movie.
Oh, it's
Also,
fucking
Corpses
wonderful.
is so much fun.
But even that, the fucking long pull out with the fucking country music and the weird
Yeah.
fucking wobbling singing, that scene, same thing in the theater. Everybody starts giggling. It started as a wave in the upper right hand corner, and it just made its way through because
Yeah.
it is so long, and it's you know what's coming, but it's like it's a nervous, uncomfortable laughter until it happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, good call. Great call with that one.
It's so hard, man, because it's like I'm so desensitized.
Same.
Like I said, it's
Nothing
hard for
really
any
gets to
person.
me.
Just seeing it.
I'll tell you, like I didn't see this in the theater, but when I was a kid, when I saw Pet Cemetery, I don't think anything ever affected me as much as Pet Cemetery. Not so much like the little boy coming back and killing
Fucking Zelda.
Yeah, it's Zelda. Yeah. And Zelda terrified me when I was a kid. The theme
Terrifies me now.
there's like a weird power in that book, and it's also in the movie where it feels like death, but it's like an ugly death. It's like your death has been infected by evil. There's a very scary book.
No, it's terrifying. I wish they'd included the Wendigo in the movie. I mean, there was no way to do it at the time. I wish they'd included the Wendigo because when I was reading the book, even that description, which was just a moment inside of a chapter where they're explaining this evil behind the Micmac burial grounds.
Yeah.
As this dark thing where all you could see was the eyes over the trees moving its way through. Like Stephen King is a fucking brilliant writer. We all know
He
this.
is.
This is the way it is. The movie, though, they did so well with the adaptation. Even the original version of the 89, right?
89.
Yeah.
Okay. The Pat's cow thing. Ellie telling her dad about Pat's cow. Like I remember reading it in the story and then being like, well, that doesn't make sense. And I saw it on screen. I was like, shit, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, and even him just showing up in brief moments where it's not, what's funny is like rewatching it, that's a jump scare moment. And yeah, there's a little bit of sound manipulation, but it's not bad. It's mostly just the way it was framed.
Yeah.
Like it's a scary fucking scene.
Yeah.
I like when Ellie is talking about Pascal and she's like, Pax cow. He's like, Pass cow. Like
He's trying to explain to her, no,
corrects her from beyond the death like it matters.
She got his name wrong. Like, well, there was that, and there was so the most recent version of the Pet Cemetery stuff. I haven't watched it. I'm not talking about the one where they swap who gets hurt and all that shit. The version that came out on what was it, Paramount?
Bloodline or something.
Yeah.
There was a when they were what's his name, the kid that they brought back from World War II or from Vietnam.
Oh yeah, I forget his name.
In the original version of that movie, when they show him screaming at his dad and pulling him back into the fire, that terrified the shit out of me.
Is that what that movie's supposed to be? Is it like a prequel?
It's supposed
Yeah, it's
to
a
be,
prequel.
It's supposed to be the original. What made Judd part of it?
Yeah.
So like, I don't know if I'm becoming cynical or something, but I
I'm
saw
not.
a trailer for that and I was like, someday. It's like whenever like a new Star Wars project comes out anymore and people are like, oh, you gotta watch like Ahsoka. I'm like,
And no, I get that.
it's a
because
damaged
it's
friend.
Yeah.
back to it so often, and that is what that is. It's like literally capitalizing on a level of nostalgia, especially. I mean, like obviously we're talking about Pet Cemetery, and all of us have these moments where clearly we cared about that movie, it was important to us, right?
Yeah.
I mean, fucking Fred Gwynn as Judd getting his fucking mouth cut open was a seminal moment. I would say for anybody.
Rob Lewis.
No, seriously.
Don't go down that rod.
Lewis.
I go on that Rob Lewis.
That's a bad rod.
Place for the hot
Watch
spring.
the rod.
I like that
Oh,
one part
no.
when he's talking to Lewis, and Lewis is like, he's like, anyone ever bury a body up there? Oh, Christ on his throne, no. And whoever
But nobody would ever do that. I'm doing it tomorrow.
I love that wording, Christ on his throne.
That's what, dude. Something I fucking love about Stephen King stories. The guy clearly writes whatever is in his head, in the form of conversations between people.
Yeah.
I fucking love it. Some of the shit the characters in his books say, I'm just like, why don't we say that? Because holy shit, that's great.
It'd really make a point if somebody said something like if you were like, I didn't like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I was like, Christ on his throne.
You know, if you had responded that way, I don't know that I could have continued.
Yeah, you're just like, wow.
What about him? What about him?
Guess who's not coming back for this show?
Sometimes dad is better. Christ on a throne. He's the reason why you have poltergeist. Jason, shut up.
Well, to keep with the Stephen King conversation and to answer the unpopular opinion question, I think the Shining miniseries was better than the film.
Oh, God, if you read the book, it fucking was.
Exactly.
It's definitely fair, yeah.
If you read the book, it was better.
Yeah.
Which Steven Weber, too, for that matter, man.
Amazing Jack Torrance.
He was incredible in it.
Yeah.
Played it right. He played it the way the source material wanted it played.
But if you watch, all right, so the original version, the Stanley Kubrick version of The Shining, it's all the 1 point perspective shit.
Yeah.
That fucking kills you. Not to mention, like, and I know it's something we've all probably read about, discussed, but it is there, especially once you know it's there. When you realize that it was filmed in such a way that it's not possible for the Overlook to have been what it was.
Yeah.
It's not possible for them to have had windows in their fucking area that they were sleeping in.
Yeah.
It's not possible for some of the rooms to exist where they exist. It is not possible. And it's all subliminal, but it's there. So much thought was put into it.
There's a real problem because like I feel like I'm horribly biased on that one. Because like Stanley Kubrick, I mean, it's just like if you like film and you like want to make movies, at some point you're just Stanley Kubrick's one of my favorite filmmakers because he is one of my favorite filmmakers. So when I watch it, I'm completely biased on it, I guess.
Was it a better film objectively? Yes.
What's that?
Was it a better film objectively speaking? Yes, absolutely. It was better. It was better made. It was better shot. Like,
yeah.
I find what Kubrick did with that film was far more interesting than it being like a supernatural thing. I loved just how like artistic and bizarre and lovely and just like it's just such a beautiful exercise in cinema.
Which it was. It
absolutely.
The only downside is that it was at expense of the story.
Yeah.
The actual story was based on like
was good.
Like watch Dr. Sleep as a true follow-up, as a true sequel.
Dr. Sleep.
It was fucking great. It was wonderful. But it was an actual sequel, right? It was like you kind of had to have read the book. You can't watch Stanley Kubrick's Shining and then follow it up with Dr. Sleep. It doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah.
What's weird though is that he and because Mike Flanagan's brilliant as a filmmaker. I think he's
he's the fucking future of this shit.
Yeah, he give like Midnight Mass, House on The Haunting of Hill House, which by the way, if you want to talk about modern things that creep me out, Haunting of Hill House I thought was very, very effective.
Oh no, it was beautiful. Like the Netflix shit he's done has been incredible.
Yeah, it's
the
so
fucking
good.
Shit, right? Like that, you still see memes about it, which is this. We're talking about like, what is it, 6 years on at this point?
Yeah.
From not the Haunting of Hill House, but wait, was it the Haunting of Hill House and then? All right,
Bly Manor was the second one.
Bly Manor was the second one. So the first one, Haunting of Hill House, the bent neck lady thing, which is to me was a surprise. Like I didn't see it coming, but that moment, you're still seeing memes and shit because it was that fucking effective.
Yeah.
That was a brilliant moment.
As a guy, again, being a little desensitized, I remember watching that first episode and when like Nell's in the house with Steve and he's just like, he answers the phone and his dad's like, he's like, oh, like Nell killed herself. And you're just like, oh, like the hair on my arm went up and that is so creepy. I'm just so stupid. I'm watching it. I'm just kind of like, okay, she's gonna be a character in the show, and then I'm like, oh, she's fucking dead.
Yeah, no, that was the point, though.
Freaked me out.
And even the fucking the recent thing, the Edgar Allan Poe thing they just did.
Mostly through it. I'm almost done with it.
Yeah, I'm like
Follow the House of Usher.
Follow the House of Usher. even that movie, it still has those same Flanagan fucking things, like where characters are talking to each other, but if you look in the background, there's shit going on that
Yeah.
it's not pertinent to the scene, but it's enough to make you uneasy.
Yeah.
It's not just like
the texture.
Well, like everybody was talking about the scene with the fucking acid shit falling out of the fucking the party, right? Yeah, that's fucking gross. It's a disgusting scene, but if you're a horror person, it's nothing.
Yeah.
Right? It's not bad. It's like, oh yeah, that fucking sucks. There goes your skin. That's horrible. Oh, he's still alive. It doesn't fucking happen. The way in which it was put together, though, does. And that's where the fucking brilliance lies. I mean, that guy is literally the future of fucking horror movies. If people would just put, like unlimited funds and let him run, I would love to see what he could do.
That Doctor Sleep movie, I remember when that came out, I saw it in the theater and I'm like, I really like this. I fell in love with it when I saw the extended version of it. And I remember like I watched it, I think like 4 nights in a row. I just like, and it's a pretty lengthy movie too. I just kept watching it's so fascinating. What's that?
It's like 220. It was like 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah,
I think it might be the director's cut might be a bit longer than that. It's a lengthy one, but you know, I found that movie like what was her name, Rose the Hat.
Yeah,
just fascinating.
One of the that's something that there are so many movies that do not. We were discussing earlier that there are so many horror movies that do their best to try and show you now, because I mean, let's be fair, most of the 70s and 80s movies they pulled away, right?
Yeah.
They would set it up and they'd pull away and they leave it to your imagination. And that was very, very effective in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Grow the mind.
Yeah. All right. So you have Rose the Hat in The True Knot, right? The scene where they got the kid, the baseball player, and he's like, are you going to hurt me? And they're just leaning over him and their eyes start fucking glowing. And they're like, yes.
You know, it's funny because I was just about to bring that up. That's my modern, like, terrifying scene is the baseball.
Good, I agree. You're 100% correct. That's really upsetting to watch.
It's not even something, they didn't even have to go into detail from that moment. It was enough. Not only was it was like just the right amount.
Yeah.
That dude knows what the fuck he's doing. I am thrilled to see anything he fucking tries to do from this point forward.
He knows how to weaponize his filmmaking. Like he can hurt.
If you got a fan who suddenly gets access to a budget and a camera, that's what happens.
Yeah. Friggin' Midnight Mass, the last thing I'll say about Mike Flanagan. Midnight Mass is probably one of the most like beautiful things I've ever seen in my entire life. As far as like a dissection of like religions and like just what life is about in your place in existence. Like I remember watching that and just being hypnotized by it. Like that's one of those properties like Midnight Mass. I think that's something more people should probably watch.
Yeah.
I'm not a crier at a lot of movies. I mean, like Schindler's List, because I mean, fuck you, if you don't cry, you should probably excuse yourself from humanity, because like,
sure.
But for a horror movie to actually get you to the point where, for a horror show or anything like that, to get you teary or weepy, that's an impressive moment, right? Like you care that much about a character. Who you think is going to be the main character in Midnight Mass, the scene on the boat.
Oh yeah.
I got like, it's the first time in fucking easily 20 years where I was watching something. I was like, oh shit. Now I gotta blow it. Like it was a moment.
That's a really good way to put that. It was a moment. Like it was like something that you could have just had that character exit the story, you know, for like story purposes. I understand, like, you know, there's a lot of ways you could have done away with them, but Mike Flanagan's like, let's make it beautiful. It's just like
fucking, like, even for that matter, being able to do it with a green screen, which is to me, I'm a big fan of practical effects. The ability to do it on a green screen and make it something that you give a shit about, because it's kind of hard. Like you got, what was the last green screen movie I can think of I saw where I was like, well, that's not that bad. It was fucking Life of Pi. You know what I mean? Like that was
movie rocks.
It's a great movie.
Yeah,
it's
a gorgeous movie.
Part of it. But that was the thing though. The effects company that did it won an Academy Award for what they did, but they had already ceased to exist because they lost their ass doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's a shame. Like the only way you can make that shit effective is to destroy the company that does it. And you have something like Industrial Light and Magic, right? Like I mean, you have George Lucas's Industrial Light and Magic. They revolutionized so much shit. Now they're owned by Disney. They have been pulled back on a lot of what they're able to do. But they also keep forcing green screen production on all kinds of shit. I mean, what you hear the stories about Ian McKellen on The Hobbit, like breaking down crying because he's acting by himself on a green screen. You know, like saying, this is not what I signed up to do. I don't know how to do this. Like, that's Ian fucking McKellen, right? Like, that dude is Gandalf. He should not be feeling that horrible.
Well, he remembered making like 3 great movies, and then he had to make 3 pretty okay movies.
That's what he gets for being a contractual actor. It's his fault.
I think, like, in all fairness, I feel like if you took The Hobbit and you had somebody just take those 3 films and whittle it down to like a 2.5 hour long movie, it would be awesome. It's just so like it's so bloated.
They did it in 80 minutes with the animated version.
Yeah, that's what it needs to be. It's not a very interesting story when you get down to it, because it's basically like, we're a bunch of dwarves who want our gold back. You're like, wow, that's
You showed up in your house, fucked it up, and dragged it to us.
I heard someone explain it perfectly. Like, the biggest problem with the Hobbit movies was that it was like going to a restaurant and someone gave you appetizers after you've already had the main course.
That's a great way to put that.
And you're just like, oh, all right.
You know how this ends, it doesn't matter now.
Is there a cap on it? Oh, yeah. What are you doing?
She's curious as to why you're still there.
We love cat photo bombs.
Increases viewership ratings.
Hey, last question though, before we all mosey off into our lives. Do you guys have a favorite director?
Romero.
I do, but it's a stupid answer.
Sam Raimi.
Good one.
Raimi?
Yeah, Raimi's my favorite
Dude,
director.
We just met Raimi.
Did you?
Yeah. Yeah, we went to
what?
Yeah. Yeah. Wait, I don't know if I can show you. Maybe I can show it to you. He Beck and I met him, and he made us do web shooters with him. Wait a minute, let me see if I can find it. There's a picture with Kevin Smith. 1 second.
Just name dropping left and right.
I can't do it.
He's like how casual. That's Kevin Smith.
Hey,
that's awesome. That's so cool.
That's awesome.
I think it's weird that he and his brother are clones.
Oh, Ted. Yeah, Ted's the shit.
They look exactly the same to me. I know they're not, but they look the same to me.
Yeah.
No, Sam Raimi, dude, that's a terrific choice. I think he's another one of those very underappreciated filmmakers. Because even like because I know you're a comic book buff, I still love those Raimi Spider-Man movies more than
Amazing.
I like.
Oh, because they were fucking. They felt like comic book movies. They were.
Yeah.
They well had been framed in piano. They were great.
That's why I like the Quick and the Dead. Quick and the Dead was like a superhero western.
Dude, even when you look at the remake, well, you call it the remake or the sequel, it's up to you, but Evil Dead, right? The Evil Dead Part 2, which is basically just Evil Dead 1 remade, except for remade with a better budget.
Best fucking thing ever.
The fucking quick cuts to make the intensity, like every fucking filmmaker who had ever seen that movie afterward did the same thing.
Yeah.
The idea of the quick fucking shot to show what's happening. It seems like such a simple thing to us now. At the time, that was fucking revolutionary. It still is. It's still used now. I mean, if you have that long of an effect on what you're fucking doing, like, you are good at what you fucking do.
Yeah,
He's like a brilliant choice.
He's because again, like those even those Spider-Man movies, like there's so much humanity in those films. But it just like I remember every freaking time I watch them, I just feel like you just want to be a better person.
There's a love for the character.
Yeah, but also again, like just like a thing where you're like, I want to be a good person. Like that's what those movies did for me when I was watching them growing up. It's like these are just fantastic. But then like, you know, Evil Dead is just fun as fuck. It's so good.
Oh God, yeah, it is.
Want to see Bill, you want to see the weirdest Sam Raimi thing that I have?
Go for it.
This is the actual trailer for Drag Me to Hell.
That's so cool.
Isn't it weird?
That's so cool.
That's fucking. Oh, Drag Me to Hell was another great fucking movie. I love them.
Yeah.
Deadites into so much shit. It's an all-encompassing answer to fucking everything.
Yeah.
It's just a simple thing. What happened? Necronomicon.
Dude, even the show was pretty good. Remember Ash vs. Evil Dead? That was a real good time.
The show, the Star show was fucking great.
I loved that. I was so upset when they got canceled.
Yeah, but you know what? The thing is, I feel like it got canceled. Like, if it was gonna get canceled, it got canceled at a good moment because it's still Ash continuing to do what he does. It's not and it's just him dealing with it.
But give me that post-apocalypse, baby. I'm a Fallout fan. Give me it. Like,
as far as directors, by the way, is if we were gonna go around the, my answer is stupid, but I'm gonna go with it anyways. Gulager, Jeff Gulager.
Okay. Okay.
Originally, and also Piranha Double D.
Okay.
So he got his kickoff from Project Greenlight on fucking A&E with the first Feast movie. The entire Feast trilogy is fucking awesome. It is absurd. It's stupid. It's got a terrible fucking ending. It is just dumb, but it's brilliant at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think that dude does not get the credit he fucking deserves.
Needs to get some more movies made.
I don't think he's ever going to.
No.
I really don't. I mean, his also his dad, right? His dad from fucking Return of the Living Dead. The guy that ran the fucking company.
Lou Gallagher?
Yeah, exactly. That was
I love him.
That was I think his intro into it.
There's a dinosaur. Living Dead is like bite your tongue if you'll.
Oh, exactly. If you like your job. I don't care about my job. We're dead.
His job. Oh, that's so good. That's like that is a perfect movie.
Yeah, that is my answer for a director that I have a shitload of respect for. Jeff Gulager.
How about you, Craig?
I think I already went, didn't I?
Oh,
I said Romero.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay, awesome.
Romero.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought Bill said that. I was like, all right, Bill, dropping Romero, Sam Raimi.
With Romero too, though, just because he was. I mean, it's fucking Romero. Like he reinvented several different genres.
Yeah.
Romero is one of those filmmakers that I have geeked out about forever. I love him, and it's Martin. I don't know if you guys ever saw Martin, but that's one of his crowning achievements. That movie.
Yeah.
We discussed Bruiser several times on this show. Just for the fact something that people
good one.
Too.
It's a good flick.
Oh, it's a fucking great movie. It's a weird movie. It's not something you would have expected. But
and then there's the amusement.
Oh,
that movie. Even though it's like what 45 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
When you watch it, like knowing what you know now, when you watch it, suddenly it becomes so clear and apparent. But I could understand why at the time people were like why?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it is fucking horrifying.
My answer is boring. I'm not even gonna, there's no surprises to mine. Mine is it's Alfred Hitchcock, followed very closely by Martin Scorsese.
Which is fair.
But Hitchcock is the filmmaker that, like, when I'm kind of putting like shots together, that's my I always tell people this, like, whenever I get into those creative funks, like when I need like that adrenaline shot, I pop in Psycho and I'm like, oh yeah, that's why I love this stuff. Like, it was like one of the most beautifully photographed movies I've ever seen in my entire life.
I was gonna say it had to be cinematography.
But even like the cinematography is fantastic, but that sequence, the whole scene between Marion and Norman when they're in the parlor,
right,
and they're just connecting, and he's like basically like letting her into his life a little bit. That the way everything is handled in that sequence, it's like a masterclass of how to film dialogue, because dialogue can be a little boring sometimes if you don't know how to handle it, but like it's all the angles, everything that happens in that scene. It's so captivating, and I've seen it a million times, and every single time I'm just like beaming. It's so good. And Anthony Perkins, another one, like a Tony Collette, where it's like how that guy didn't win an Oscar for playing Norman Bates is disgusting because Norman Bates is one of the greatest film characters in any ever. Maybe like in my top favorites. Maybe I flirt with this sometimes. He might be my favorite character in any movie. I don't know. It's very hard to pick.
Well, you have a character that you actually feel for, and it's kind of disgusting at the same time.
Yeah. It makes you question yourself.
Well, I mean, like you want to there was I think once that we discussed this before too, but there was a made for Showtime version of Psycho. I think it was Psycho 3, 4.
Yeah.
4, the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, Psycho the beginning, where they go back and they show him after he's dealt with all his shit, he's been in an institution, he's gotten out, and he goes back to the fucking house. Right? And he is Anthony Perkins he is 100% okay at that point.
Yeah.
But he's also dealing with all the shit that made him what he is.
Yeah.
Right.
Those
so
ghosts are still haunting that house.
Yeah, exactly. It's like as a character, as a villain, for lack of a better way to put it, he suddenly becomes like something. Okay, so if you watch that movie, the only people he ever actually killed, he by himself, not as his mother's persona, was his mom and his mom's boyfriend.
Yeah.
Never killed anybody else as himself. It was always a split, like into his mom or whatever.
Yeah.
Wait, didn't he kill Duke? Was that his name? Duke. God, it's Jeff Fahey in Psycho 3. Doesn't he bash him over the head with a guitar?
Oh fuck yes, he does. Okay, so
was that his name? Duke.
Well, that's Jeff Fahey though. Like, if you're gonna hit somebody,
that character is so funny. It just over the top. Wait, was that his name? I feel like it was something like
I
that.
actually forgot about him. But even then, if you take the body count of all the Psycho movies, including that one, he only ever kills 3 people then as himself. Everybody else is as his mother.
Mm.
And honestly, the lady in the Showtime version of it that portrays his mom does a great job of making her a fucking nutcase.
Yeah.
Olivia Hussey. That's Juliet from Romeo and Juliet, and she's Jessica in Black Christmas, the original. She's a classy actress. She's Topanga Lawrence's aunt in Boy Meets World. There's a deep cut for you guys.
Yeah.
Anybody with the editing ability needs to fucking get clips and just fucking assemble that shit. And
Jeff Fahey's name, it was Dwayne, I guess. He killed him, and then oh my god, do you remember as Norman he does kill somebody else? Do you remember Mrs. Spool in Psycho 2, the old lady?
Yeah.
Over the head with the shovel. It's like,
but that's
so hard the whole chair collapses.
That was in defense there. That was in an attempt to cover up other shit, right?
No, it's just that it's basically like Lila and Mary are just trying to drive him insane. And then like all that's because he's healed in a sense. It's like he has his demons under control through like therapy for like 22 years. And then they push him over the edge, and like him taking out Mrs. Spool and replacing Mother, putting her back in the window. It's like, you know what I mean? It's almost like everything is reset. That Psycho 2 is another one of those movies, man. If you ever like get time to like revisit it, it is like so much better than it has any right to be. In fact, I would say it's pretty great.
I do rewatches of a lot of shit on a pretty regular basis. Actually, it's the background stuff I put on when I'm drawing. Like it's generally I do horror movies. That's what is. It's either that or music, but generally it's horror movies. I'll go back through the Psycho movies. I'll do it in a heartbeat. I think they're fucking
fun.
Great. Yeah.
All of them too, by the way. Which is a lot of sequels start to fall apart, except for the fact that this one is so like the Psycho movies are so character based because it's fucking Norman Bates. It's just this poor son of a bitch, weird ass fucking background. Even the A&E series,
Bates Motel,
was fucking good.
Yeah, man. I always felt like it was like I always felt like it was 50-50 for me. It was like whenever like Norman and Norma were in scenes together, I thought the show was captivating. And whenever anything else happened in that show, I was like, I guess I'll do my laundry.
Yeah, his brother, I didn't get
right on my grocery list.
Yeah, not a care in the world about his brother. It didn't matter to me. Like his brother, criminal returning home. I was like, who gives a fuck?
Remember, like how they're like, he's like, oh, I want to get into the dark history of our town, the weed business. I'm like, really? You couldn't go like coke or like
all the shit that could have happened.
heroin, the weed business? I'm like, I don't know. That was a real soft drug empire.
The first season or the first and second season with the girlfriend, the sort of girlfriend, whatever you wanted to call her. Like I liked her and their
That
interaction.
was like dying or whatever. The
one that like
Yeah.
she was sick, right? Like there was something wrong with her in conjunction with him and the way they dealt with each other
yeah,
was kind of cool to me. Especially in
got actress a lot.
well, his mother was like slightly jealous.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was never flat out like explained, but it was definitely there in a lot of their interactions. I thought that was fucking cool. Like it was always an unhealthy fucking build. But his brother, I did not give a fuck about.
No one did.
And
if
like there was like
say that there was a brother on that show, anyone listening to this who has seen the show would have been like, oh yeah, there was a brother.
no, that's right. There was that one guy. He was a tough guy. He was a tough guy that people get no one gave a shit.
I'm mad at mom.
Like they had oh exactly. They had 50 minutes to fill, so they introduced this dude.
That was like the breaks for you to like check your phone.
That was the moment. No, it seriously was. If you just picked up the last scene in the shot, it would have been enough for you to know what was going on with him and enough for you to know that you didn't fucking care.
Yeah. But
I feel good about that. That was a great way to round it.
On that note. But,
Psycho.
yeah, guys, this was fun.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm a big fan.
I enjoyed it.
Conversation that ever occurs. So either way, it's late.
Yeah, it was a good time. Do you have anything you want to promote before we let you go?
Yeah, especially when by the way, the movie. When is that going to be available everywhere?
We'll shortly. Not too far into the future. I definitely want to kind of get it out there because it played in festivals and stuff, and
yeah,
it played in the Goal Festival. Got it in that thing. Because we got to play it at that Kevin Smith Film Festival. Did you guys hear about that? Yeah, that was weird because that was like a thing where we finished it and submitted it, and it was like a worldwide thing. And I believe it was like 5 days long, and there was like 146 films, short films and full-length films that were picked, and that was like one of them. So that was like a real weird thing because Kevin Smith is like one of my like guys that made me want to start writing when I was a kid because I saw like Mallrats, and I was like, I love people talk, and the characters were just so like lively and fully like drawn.
Yeah.
But like I knew like for a while entering the movie into a festival, you can't get them into for some of them they won't let you put them into festivals if you actually like post the movie online or something. But I think we're past that point now, so I want to do something with it soon. So keep an eye out. Right now I would just say if I was gonna promote anything, I would just say look up Frequels Podcast if you just want to hear more of me babbling about movies and just kind of laughing. You guys ever want to come on and do it with us? That'd be fun too.
For sure.
We'll make you laugh. Of course, Three Jacks Burger Bar, Dunmore, Pennsylvania. Go check that out. I have some friends. They have like a Fourth Cut reviews. You can see them. Trying to think if I'm missing anything. I'm sure I am. I'm such a I can remember all this stuff about movies. I can't remember anything about my own life. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
Oh, Ravenview Productions. That's a big one.
There you go.
Oh, wait, hold on a second. This thing, if you
oh shit!
If you go on like Facebook, you can find like that trailer you were talking about earlier. You can see that on there. YouTube. But yeah, there's gonna be some more stuff coming up soon. A follow up, if you will. Just keep an eye out, guys.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being on.
Yeah. I'll now can I have my family back?